I finally realized why my mom makes us sleep in the same room. When I was 6, my mom pushed 2 twin beds together in the smallest bedroom of our house and told me and my brother we'd be sleeping there from now on. She said it was because the heater worked better in that room and she didn't want us getting cold. I believed her because I was 6 and moms don't lie, but the heater worked fine everywhere else. By the time I was 8, I started asking why we couldn't have our own rooms like normal kids. She said families who slept apart grew apart, and she wasn't going to let that happen to us. My brother was 4 years older than me, and by middle school he was furious. He said it was weird and embarrassing, and he couldn't even have friends over because how do you explain sharing a room with your little sister at 14? My mom said friends who judged our family weren't real friends anyway. The rules got stranger as we got older. She installed a baby monitor in our room when I was 10, even though neither of us were babies. She said it was so she could hear if we needed anything in the night. My brother unplugged it once, and she screamed at him for an hour about how he was trying to shut her out. She started doing bed checks every 2 hours, opening our door and standing there watching us breathe. If one of us wasn't in bed, she'd tear the house apart looking for us. My brother fell asleep on the couch watching TV once, and she called the police before checking the living room. When they found him 10 feet away from where she was standing, she said she'd rather be safe than sorry. The cops looked at her like she was crazy. She didn't care. By high school, my brother had basically stopped talking. He'd come home from school, go straight to our shared room, put in headphones, and stare at the wall until dinner. I asked him once if he was okay, and he said he'd stopped being okay years ago. He moved out the day he turned 18. Didn't tell anyone he was leaving. Just packed a bag while mom was at work and disappeared. She filed a missing persons report even though he left a note saying he was fine. When the police told her an adult could leave home whenever they wanted, she said they didn't understand. She said something bad was going to happen to him now that she couldn't watch him. She moved my bed into her room that night. She said she couldn't lose both of us. I was 14 and sleeping 3 feet from my mother. I wasn't allowed to close the bathroom door all the way anymore. I wasn't allowed to walk to school even though it was 4 blocks away. She drove me everywhere and waited in the parking lot until I came out. She called the school office 6 times a day to make sure I was still there. When I got my first phone at 16, she installed tracking software and checked it every hour. I asked her once what she was so afraid of, and she said I wouldn't understand until I had children of my own. I said I never wanted children if it meant becoming like her. She slapped me and then cried for 3 hours about how I didn't appreciate everything she sacrificed to keep me safe. Safe from what? I kept asking. She never answered. I found the answer in a filing cabinet when I was 17. She'd gone to the grocery store and forgot to lock her bedroom door. I wasn't even snooping, just looking for my birth certificate for a school trip, but I found a folder labeled with a name I'd never heard, my mother's handwriting. Inside were death certificates, police reports, and photographs of a little boy who looked exactly like my brother. Same nose, same eyes, same dark curly hair. The document said he died at age 3 from SIDS while sleeping in his own room. The date was 2 years before my brother was born. I sat on her floor reading everything and realized my mother had lost a child she couldn't see. A child who died alone in a room with the door closed. She'd spent 20 years making sure it never happened again. She'd spent 20 years suffocating us with the grief she never processed. I confronted her when she got home and showed her the folder. She collapsed on the kitchen floor sobbing and said she just wanted to keep us breathing. I said we were breathing, but we weren't living. She said at least we were alive.